Moving on to what we call the references or the reference list, which is a separate section of your paper, which you add after you finished all the content of your paper, after your conclusion, on a new page. And you need to list in that section all the sources that you have cited inside your text. So that means if I have in my text, inside the paper, research study by Herbert et al. 2018, inside my text, then I, as a reader, will expect to find the full citation in the reference list. And vice versa. If you have Herbert and these are the other names of the authors in your reference list, I also would expect finding it inside your paper. If that doesn't hold, then you probably either, you're using information without giving credit to the author, or you're giving credit to an author without telling me where exactly I can find. So maybe you're misrepresenting the author. So you make sure that you have one-to-one. Every source that is in your text should appear in your reference list. Now, for the reference section, there are different formats of how to cite the full source depending on the type of the source. We will look at how to cite in the reference section articles from research journals, peer-reviewed journals, books, articles from website, films, videos, but there are, okay, we will cover articles from research journals and books, and you might also want to cite articles from websites, films, podcasts, tweets, web pages. All of these, if you're using someone else's thoughts, you must cite them. We will just focus on the common types for now. For the rest, you can find information on the APA website. You have the link here and you have it in your handout, apastyle.apa.org, or the Purdue OWL as well. Okay, so let's look at how to format a reference from a journal article. Journal article or a peer-reviewed article or an academic source would look like this. You have the author's last names and initials. So here I have two authors, Rulon. First name starts with an N, so I have Rulon, comma, N dot, and then I separate for the next author with a comma, and Levashina, that's the last name of the second author, comma, the initial J and dot. Following that, I have the year in between parentheses, and after that, I have a dot. Then I have the title of the article, in which you capitalize only the first letter of the first word and the first letter of any proper names. And as well the first letter of any word that comes after the comma. So here I have LinkedIn, that's the first word, must be capitalized. As a new selection method, I have the column, and the first word after that, that is psychometric, has to be capitalized. You write that, then you add dot after the title of the article. Next, you indicate the name of the journal, and the name of the journal here, Personnel Psychology, it must be italicized. Then you have the volume issue, that is 72 here, also italicized. The volume number, italicized, 72, and in between parentheses, if you have more issues of the same volume, then you write the number of the issue here too, in between parentheses. Another comma, you indicate the page numbers inside the journal where the specific article appears, and you end everything with a dot. So just to recap, you have author name and initial of the first name, the year in between parentheses, dot, article name, dot, journal name, italics until the volume, and then the issue number between parentheses, comma, page numbers. If you have any questions, write them in the chat. We will get to them in the Q&A section.
I'm collecting them too.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, finally, you have the DOI number, if you can get it. It's the DOI it stands for the Digital Object Identifier. It's like a barcode, a unique barcode for each journal article. So if you're looking online, you probably will find the DOI and you add it at the end of the reference. The end. Moving on. Now, how do we cite a book? Let's say I got a bunch of information from the same book. How do I do that? We start with the author's last name and initial of the first name. Here I have two authors, Sidanius and Prato, and I'm separating them by a comma, and I'm separating each of them from their initial by a comma as well. 1999, that's the year, dot. Now here, the name of the book is Social Dominance and Intergroup Theory of Social Hierarchy and Oppression. All of this is the name of the book, and it should appear italicized. The capitalization rules apply as the same. So basically, the first word, here social, first word after the column, here it's the word and any proper names or proper nouns, we don't have any in this citation. Finally, we have the publisher. Here it's Cambridge University Press, and yeah, and that's how a book looks like. So difference between book and journal article is that the book's title is italicized. The journal article title is not italicized. It's the journal's name that is italicized. Moving on to how we cite in the reference section at the end of our paper, how we cite an article from a website. So remember the New York Times article that we looked at before from Gretchen Reynolds. Here I start citing exactly as I did with other sources, the author's last name and initials. But for the year or the date of publication, since it's a newspaper, I will put the year, the month, and the date. The year, comma, the month name, and the day's number. This is the format of how you indicate when a newspaper article was published. Dot. The name, the title of the article. The title of the article was How Exercise Might Affect Immunity to Lower Cancer Risk. The name of the newspaper is the New York Times, right? So that's the New York Times website. Notice, and then I put the URL. The URL is the address that leads me to exactly that page that the article appeared on. So notice that the name of the website might be different than the address. Here, the name is New York Times, but the URL is www.nytimes.com. All right. Remember, capitalization rules apply also in the titles of websites articles.